What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here, back with another old school deck profile. I am super excited about this one. This might be like one of my favorite old decks that I've ever made. I didn't even know that this was a thing until like last week. I was checking out Jason Klaczynski's blog. I will link to it in the description below just so that you guys could see my resources for a lot of these old decks. And this is base set only format. So base set only format was when Haymaker reigned supreme. I have a Haymaker deck profile that I'm uploading as well, that you guys can see that. I will upload that in the description too, just so that you can see it. But Haymaker, you have the powerful trainer cards. You have, computer search, item finder, plus power, last, just these totally energy removal, super energy removal, totally busted trainer cards, no supporters, and Haymaker just reigns supreme. So you have the Hitmonchan and the Electabuzz. There was no Scyther yet. Scyther eventually was released and resists Hitmonchan, who is kind of the most powerful Pokemon in that base set format. Just one energy doing 20 damage with that jab attack. So powerful. And there were very few decks that could rival it. And funny enough, this Zapdos deck can actually rival the very powerful, infamous Haymaker deck. And this deck is very funny. It's a little bit gimmicky, but when it works, and it is hilarious to play. I'll be uploading some gameplay footage of this deck in action as well, playing against the Haymaker deck. I think it's a lot of fun to watch, very exciting to see. So, going to be describing the deck to you, show you how this deck works. My list is a little bit different than the list that Jason uploaded to his blog. There are a few card inclusions that I didn't like that he had, so I went and just kind of boosted the consistency of it a little bit by upping some of the other counts. But this is based off of Jason's testing and list from his WordPress, linked in the description below. So, excited to show off this deck for you. It's called Buzzapdos because of Electrode's ability Buzzap. This Electrode is actually reprinted, kind of with an upgrade in evolutions, so it may look a little familiar to some players who don't really play with old cards. But to start things out, this deck plays 4 copies of Zapdos, and this is one of my favorite cards ever printed. I just love the artwork on this thing. Very nostalgic for me. I love that we get to play 4 Zapdos. It's a very powerful card. So many hit points. 90 for a basic is just huge, So awesome card with some very powerful attacks that you get to use. 4 copies of Electrode with that Buzzap ability, 4 Voltorbs, and 1 Doduo. So, let's talk about these Pokemon real quick. First of all, we got 4 copies of Zapdos. Zapdos is our main attacker. He's our wall. He's our dude. I mean, this is like really the only guy we're going to be trying to take the prizes with. And the idea of this deck is that you are going to be building up a Zapdos, usually 1, sometimes 2 Zapdos throughout the course of the game with lightning energies and with your Electrodes, which I will show off momentarily. And you're going to be using Thunder over and over again with plus power to hit the magic number 70. 70 is the magic number because both Hitmonchan and Electabuzz have 70 hit points. So if you could dole out 70 turn after turn, you're going to be taking consecutive knockouts and clearing your opponent's board very quickly. So with that attack, of course, it's very expensive. 4 energy on a Pokemon is almost unheard of in this base set format because of those energy removal cards. Pretty much automatic crushing hammers, and then the super energy removal, discard one of your own energies, remove 2 from your opponent's Pokemon, can totally clear this Zapdos of energy in a single turn. So how do we combat energy removal? Well, we play last to remove all trainers from the opponent's hand. So what we do is we grind through our deck very quickly, where many of these old jungle and base set decks will try to conserve their resources and manage their resources very tightly, make sure that they don't deck out. This Zapdos deck is all about just burning and going and gunning for it, and you try to build up one big Zapdos, last your opponent's hand away, and then just take as many quick knockouts as you can and try to bench them. Usually you will end up benching your opponent with this deck, just hoping that they don't draw into enough basic Pokemon to survive the draw out of the last, and you're kind of just waiting for them to lose the game while you just thunder over and over again, and then eventually can end the game with a powerful beautiful Thunderbolt. You have to discard all your energy in order to do it, but you don't need the plus power to take a knockout or anything like that. Sometimes maybe if you have a critically damaged Zapdos and you don't have a plus power, you might Thunderbolt just to go ahead and remove your opponent's threat from play as well. So Zapdos really gets in there with the help of Electrode. So let's talk about these Electrodes. Now, Electrode can attack. It does have Electric Shock, which flip a coin of tails does 10 damage to itself. Not a bad attack, 50 damage. But usually you are going to be using Electrode for this amazing Buzz Zap ability. Buzz Zap reads at any time during your turn. If you want, you can knock out Electrode and attach it to one of your other Pokemon. If you do, choose a type of energy. Electrode is now an energy card instead of a Pokemon that provides 2 energy of that type. Power can't be used if Electrode is asleep, confused, or paralyzed. So sometimes what you may do is you may decide to, promote Electrode, and, while you're kind of biding some time, you can like soak a hit with Electrode from the opponent's Pokemon, and then it's cool because then you can go ahead and knock him out and attach him to Zapdos as a double rainbow energy, which is amazing, right? So you might do that twice. You'll knock out 2 Electrodes, and then a lot of times your Zapdos will look something like that, ready to go ahead and thunder. Now, Electrode is 1 energy card, so that means that energy removal can completely remove Electrode. If your opponent gets a super energy removal, both Electrodes are going to be gone. And that is really, really bad, considering you had to sacrifice a prize card in order to get the Electrode to turn into an energy in the first place. So you have to make sure that on the same time that you blow up Electrode, on the same turn that you blow up your Electrodes, which you're usually going to want to do like 1 or 2 at the same time, you also have to last, especially since your opponent is going to be getting more cards off of their prizes, increasing their hand size, increasing the opportunities for them to have energy removal cards. You last them away. Maybe you energy removal one of your opponent's energies to kind of clear their board state and then take a big knockout all in one turn. You make these really aggressive power plays with Buzz Zap, attach them to your Zapdoses, and try to sweep very quickly. That's really the whole point of the entire deck. It's very simple. We do play 1 Doduo in here, and I found that Doduo is cool. He can finish off a Pokemon. Maybe if you just do 60 to somebody with a Zapdos and they only have 10 hit points left, Doduo can get in there and poke them. Also can just act as a free retreating wall. Sometimes you might be building up a Zapdos on the bench, and it's nice just to have Doduo in the active position to bide a turn or 2 while you manually attach to your Zapdos and try to get a Zapdos powered up. So I do like having the 1 of Doduo. It resists Hitmonchan, so it's a complete wall to Hitmonchan, which is great. Offers another starter that is not Voltorb, which is valuable as well, because a Voltorb start can easily turn into a loss. In base set format, you can attack on the first turn going first, so Voltorb can easily get donked by a Hitmonchan. So including Doduo here makes it so that we have another Pokemon that just is not a Voltorb and can withstand a turn 1 attack, making sure that we don't lose on the first turn of the game. So I do like the free retreating Doduo. Just having a free retreater is very useful as well. That's it for the Pokemon. Pretty simple cast. I love the consistency of the deck. Just it's 4 Zapdos, 4 Electrode line, and 1 Doduo. Really very cool. Moving on to the trainers. Play 4 copies of Professor Oak, an incredible draw card. Just discard your hand, draw 7. 4 copies of Bill, 4 copies of Computer Search, 4 copies of Item Finder, 4 copies of Lass, 4 copies of Plus Power, 3 copies of Defender. Let's see if I have enough room here. 3 copies of Defender, 3 copies of Energy Removal, 2 Pokemon Trader, 1 Gust of Wind, 1 Scoop Up, 1 Energy Retrieval, and 1 Full Heal. So that is a lot of trainer cards. But like I said, this deck is really about going in aggressively. You want to go as quickly and aggressively as possible to try and churn through all of your decks. So you see, we do play 4 copies of Bill, 4 Professor Oaks, and you can really just use those without having to worry so much about decking out and stuff like that, because you're going to try and just win the game very quickly. Not a lot of decks can win the game as quickly as the Zapdos deck can, just because of how fast you ramp energy into play with that Buzz Zap. And then last, like I said, you want to use last on the same turn that you blow your electrodes up. Last is essential to the functioning of this deck. Without last, you would fall to the, would fall victim to energy removal and super energy removal way too easily. Last says both you and your opponent show each other your hands, then shuffle all trainer cards from your hands into your deck. So an incredible trainer card. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Getsis, but it's like a two-sided Getsis. And it's really cool because you get to play down all of your trainers. So you will Oak and Bill, Item Finder, whatever have you. You can play down your plus powers, you can play down your defenders, and then last is the last trainer you use in your hand after you've exhausted all your resources and set up your board position in a way that you're ready to take on your opponent's board. Then you last, negate your opponent's resources and put them at the whim of their top deck. And if their top deck isn't something good, a lot of times they could just lose the game right there. So it's very cool. Professor Oak, we do play 4 of these. Some decks won't play 4 just because they want to be a little bit more conservative with their draw and not deck out. But 4 Professor Oak works perfectly in here because as soon as you draw it, you're pretty much going to be ripping through your resources, trying to set up that one Zapdos, which is kind of like your glass cannon going to just sweep the entire opponent's team. Play 4 copies of Bill as well just to continue churning through your deck. Make sure you draw into things like Electrode. Setting up stage 1 Pokemon is actually pretty difficult. There's no like level ball or free search or things like that. You have to use computer search. Now, computer search obviously is an incredible card, but having to discard 2 cards and set in a deck where everything is like pretty much valuable can sometimes be tough for setting up your stage 1 Pokemon. So, Bill is nice just to help you kind of churn through your deck without having to discard things with computer search and stuff like that. Computer search is awesome for completing the puzzle of just, computer search and item finder kind of go hand in hand for completing those card combinations that you need in order to sweep a Zapdos. A lot of times to sweep a Zapdos, you're going to want to have a plus power. You're going to want to have last. You're going to want to have Electrode. And you're going to, Defender is ideal. So that's a lot of cards together on your Zapdos. Computer search, discard 2 cards from your hand in order to search for any card out of your deck really helps put that piece together. And with 4 copies of computer search in the deck, it's very easy to get the resources that you need in order to continue sweeping. I mean, really, you want as many consistency cards in this deck as possible. You're going to be lasting your opponent, so when you last your opponent, you want to make it so that you can top deck good stuff as well, because the sooner that you top deck a live card like computer search or Oak or Bill or item finder, that means that you're going to be able to find more plus powers, taking big one-hit knockouts. You're going to be able to find a full heal if you need it. Speaking of full heal, I thought that this was really cool. Jason put this in as a one of. This seems like a bad card, right? Your active Pokemon's no longer asleep, confused, paralyzed, or poisoned. Like, why wouldn't you just play Switch or something like that? But Full Heal is really genius just because it's a free card. Really, you're sweeping with the one Zapdos. You don't want to switch it. You don't want to pick it up with Super Scoop Up very often or Scoop Up very often. You don't want to switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. You just want to make sure that it continues to sweep. Now, Electabuzz is one of the most popular Pokemon in format, and Electabuzz can paralyze you with that Thunder Shock attack. So a lot of times, that can stall you or lose you the game just because you're being stalled out by an Electabuzz while they're waiting to top deck. Full Heal can get the Zapdos healed up from paralysis and ready to continue taking big knockouts, so I do love that. Defender is also really important because Defender helps protect Zapdos from its own self-damaging attack. That Thunder attack says flip a coin. If tails, you do 30 damage to yourself. You attach Defender, that means that not only are you protecting yourself from your own self-damage, if you happen to flip a tails, you only do 10 to yourself, but also during your opponent's turn, if they do manage to get together an attacker, it's going to be doing less damage to you as well. So Defender, although is not quite as important as Plus Power is essential for getting those one-hit knockouts on Hitmonchan and Electabuzz. Defender is also important because it allows you to tank with your one copy of Zapdos much easier. We also play one copy of Energy Retrieval. Energy Retrieval is just a great card, helps your energy go further. Being able to trade one card in your hand for 2 energy from the discard pile is great. And with one copy of Energy Retrieval in deck and 4 item finders, you can really make the most out of your 11 copies of Lightning Energy that we play. And you'll find that this is kind of the same logic that we use in standard format or expanded format today with like Puzzle of Time and Versus Seeker. Being able to grab those one-of cards from your discard pile and reuse them is really great. In the same way, Item Finder allows us to get more mileage out of every everything in our deck. So it's an incredible card. I think Jason's list originally only played 3. He also played a couple copies of Maintenance. I'm not a big fan of Maintenance. I tried it out a little bit. I thought that just beefing up the item finder count, beefing up the plus power count, beefing up the last account really helped increase the consistency of the deck. I think he only played 3 item finder, 3 last, 3 plus power. I really like the 4-4-4, just so you always have access to plus power. You always have access to the last. You always have access to the item finder. I felt like maxing these counts out to 4 helped you complete the card combinations that you need easier than 3 copies of Maintenance would. So that was just my logic. But 4 item finder really allows you to get the most usage out of your 1-of cards. We play 1-of full heal. With item finder, you could use that full heal 5 times. We play 1 energy retrieval. With 1 energy retrieval, we could use that energy retrieval 5 times to get back, 20. We could have access to 20 energy, 20 basic energy if we use that energy retrieval 5 times and got a lightning energies back every time. And we play 11. You can get over 20 lightning energies with 1 energy retrieval and 4 item finder. Totally insane. You can gust of wind up to 5 times with 4 item finder. It's a completely insane card. You could plus power up to 8 times with 4 item finder. So item finder is just an incredible card in here. It helps boost the consistency and really helps you maximize all of your resources much, much better. 1 scoop up is great because sometimes you will just put a sacrificial Zapdos into the active position just to kind of tank hits while you build up a bench Zapdos. And when you want them to get out of there, scoop up is your exit strategy. You deny your opponent a prize, which is important because you're going to be giving your opponent free prizes throughout the course of the game with Buzz Zap. So denying them prize with the Zapdos that maybe you're trying to sacrifice while you build up one on the bench is a good idea, and scoop up can help you do that. 1 gust of wind is great if your opponent is trying to just be cheeky and build up a big attacker on the bench while you are just, knocking out whatever they happen to promote. Gust of wind can make it so that they don't get to just do that and get away with that and just attach maybe 4 energies to a Chansey or something like that. You want to be able to gust up whatever they are trying to build up on the bench and knock it out if it is looking like it's going to be a threat. 2 copies of Pokemon Trader really helps with the consistency of this deck and setting up your Electrodes. So the Pokemon Trader is very essential. It says trade 1 of the basic Pokemon or evolution cards in your hand for 1 of the basic Pokemon cards or evolution cards from your deck. It's the same thing as Poke Communication for anybody familiar with that card. Very, very similar cards, similar effects. Pokemon Trader really helps the consistency of setting up those stage 1s. Most of these decks, unless it's an evolution deck, will not play Pokemon Trader. But like I said, setting up with computer search only is sometimes difficult because you don't want to discard things that are in your hand. You need all the resources. Pokemon Trader can give you a nice Pokemon search for free so long as you have another Pokemon in your hand. And then 3 copies of energy removal could be very helpful since a lot of times your best mode of energy removal is going to be just knocking out the opponent's active Pokemon with energy on it. That's going to be your main mode of energy removal. But sometimes they're building up somebody on the bench, so energy removal can help dink that energy off the bench while also simultaneously knocking out the active. Just makes your deck way more aggressive, makes your deck way more a force to be reckoned with, being that you can remove the energy from your opponent, denying them powerful attacks. If you can keep Electabuzz, primarily if you could just keep Electabuzz to Thundershock only, you're usually going to be fine. Once they start going in with that 40 damage attack, that's when things, Thunder Punch, that's when things really get hectic. So you want to keep, Electabuzz to only the 1 energy attack. Energy removal helps you do that. So that's it for the trainer cards. There sure are a lot of them, but like I said, this deck is really, run and gun. So it's very fun to play. And to finish things off, we do play 11 copies of Lightning Energy, which seems to work out just fine. This is Jason's count from his list that I'm going to go ahead and link to in the WordPress below. Thank you all for watching the video. Like I said, going to be trying to get some gameplays up of these soon, so thank you all for being patient. Let me know what you think of this base set format in the comments below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace.